So my banner was made up of a background image and a bit of a gradient. I added this later on. So I added text, and the text has got a lot of filters. It's got a stroke, it's got a gradient, it's got some texture, and I have applied lighting to this layer. Okay, so I think if I click here, I can get my lighting effects. So I have applied lighting to it. So I'm going to build this again from scratch so you can see how I do it. I'm going to close this. The first thing you need to know is the approximate size. Now, in the new methodology, people build it for the biggest screen. Okay, not 1024, they go 2K or maybe 1600. And if it's responsive, so if you're going to make it really big, you make it responsive to up to tablet size, up to 900. But if you're starting at 900, you can make it responsive up to mobile phone size. But you still need something large because when you go down, it sharpens out. When you pull it up, it becomes pixelated. So what size should I make it? Now, if you remember, the container we made was 950, right? 950 pixels. So I knew I was going to make a container 950. So this was my size, height 200. And I know from experience that's a good thing. Height is a good height. So 72 is the dots per inch. Your normal printing has about 300 dots per inch. So if you go per square inch, 300 by 390,000 dots and so on. But for screen, for be in the web medium, this is good. So I start with a new document. All cool? New document. Now don't blink, okay? For the but just try to understand what's happening. I got a document. Few things I can do. And Des likes this, so I'll show something that Des was trying earlier. So Des likes few things like this. You take a gradient. Okay, you in blues, you can go and select two blues, and I'm just going to press the shift key to make a gradient, but that's not the gradient I want. So if you are in the gradient tool up here, you can choose the type of gradient. That's foreground to transparent, that's foreground to background. And of course, I can double click on a gradient and choose to edit it as well if I want to. But I'll just go foreground to background, and there, that's my gradient. Now Des likes to do something like this, and tell me if I missed something, Desmond. Filter, you can see thousands of filters. You can put a bit of noise in it. Okay, you can put a bit of noise. You can go filter, you can go to blur and put a bit of a motion blur on it, and you get start getting some kind of a texture and all that. Okay, that's one way of getting something of interest rather than just plain flat stuff. Under render, you have things like difference clouds or clouds. Difference cloud just takes the opposite colors. Again, you can use this one and then use your motion blur, or you can use a radial blur. I like the zoom, and I like it to zoom out. See that? So it gives a bit of a. I'm just going to increase my contrast because you guys can't see what I'm doing. So filter, render, clouds, and I go filter. I'm going to go to blur, and I'm going to go to radial. I'm going to just zoom it out. So you can see what happens. You get the general idea. Now, control plus and control minus are your friend, because as you change control plus and control minus, it changes the zoom value. This is 50% zoom. At 66% zoom, which is this, and at 33% zoom, you will see straight lines as jagged edges because it doesn't render them very nicely. But don't do this and say, oh, I can see pixels. No, that's what who did Angel just a while ago. You will see pixels if you go close. It's pixels. If it's vectors, you won't see, but anything like shadows, they get pixelated. Okay. Then what I want? Okay, we are doing a Viking theme. Yeah? So I wanted, why is this coming for Chrome? Because of course Chrome is closed. Okay, Chrome. I just take any shape. I don't care about this. I should pick up a Chinese junket. And I think now when you are in search, when you're searching images, it's a nice thing to do this. And you've all learned copyright. You can actually go here and you can go to search tools and say, usage rights. I want to pick up images that are labeled for non-commercial reuse. Okay, there's some labeled for reuse, but for non-commercial you get a bit more. And your students, so you can get a lot of this stuff. So under search tools, you can choose what type of search. So that keeps you safe. You're not sort of taking stuff that you're not meant to take. You're taking stuff that people have labeled as, yep, you're okay to take it. It's all good. And I just want a Chinese junk. I'll just take, I'll take this. Yeah, cool. View image. Nice one. And I'll just paste it. Now I have to zoom out. You know why? Because it's a fairly big image. With this move tool, and that's the move tool, I can move it, and I think that's okay. That's pretty okay there. I don't want to see all of it, but if I want, I can sort of. No, they don't look like Vikings. They look like migrants trying to, catch a boat or somewhere and go. I'll take this one. I can live with that. My plan is for this image, I'm just going to use the sails. So that one I'll turn it off. And you can see such a big image. I have to zoom out and Control T is for transform. See that? Control T gives me these handles. See that? The moment I put Control T, I'm pressing the Shift key and scaling it down. And there you go. And I'm happy with this. I want a bit of my lower layer, so I can choose. You see these layers? Every layer has got a lock. You can lock these transparency things. It's got opacity, and it also has a layer mode. I can choose to multiply. What multiply does is it kills the bright colors. See that? And I get something like a silhouette. Now that's all in the background. I'm still going to just make I'm still going to have my text on top of it. Cool. Now the next thing I did, I took text, I clicked on it, and I typed Vikings. I used a serif font. Okay, I did use a serif font. So you can choose your font here. So select your text, choose your font. You can actually increase your size by typing it. And if it doesn't allow you, you can again do Control T and just scale it up, Nothing stops you from increasing the size of your text. As you move it, you'll see it'll snap in the middle. That's good. Let me make it a bit more visible. Okay, so then to make this interesting, what I did, few things. I'm going to pull this guy down up and collapse these guys. Don't want them. I could probably Close this panel, come on now. I'll just drop these guys so I have more space on my screen. Just a bit of a fight for real estate out here. So I've got this. And under effects, there are many things I can do. Effects are layer effects. Layer effects, okay? Anything to do with layer is here. But you'll see most of the times I'll be using these windows around. So I will add an effect, and the first thing I'm doing is a gradient overlay. So this gradient overlay, let me go and choose a gradient. So I've got this gradient. It serves my purpose for now, but I can modify it if I want to. I can sort of choose a gradient color and so on. But this one serves my purpose for now. I've got a gradient overlay. Next I want is bevel and emboss. Now bevel and emboss is something what we were trying earlier. I'm just going to try to put my thing to one side. Inner bevel, I'll give it a size of 2 just so that I can see the things. 3, okay, 4. Give it a bit of a size now. Soften, no. Okay, let's try 4. No, soften. Technique, chisel soft so I can see it. And I'm beginning to see it. Normal, shadow mode, normal, just so that I can see the highlights. Fully opaque highlights. I can see a bit of the highlights now, and I'll soften it by 1. So can you see the bevels there a bit? See this when I turn it off. See that? Very subtle. I'll make it 3. Now there's something called texture, and you can apply some sort of a texture. And I've actually got an Assassin's Creed image there in my texture, because you can make anything into a texture. And if you scale down the texture, you can start applying that texture as an emboss. Can you see that? I'm embossing it right now. Can you see that roughness on my... Can you see that slight roughness appearing here? And you can really apply anything. You can apply these bubbles. So I've just applied some texture there. Okay. Finally, what I did. Finally, I went to filter, render, lighting effects. Okay, convert it to a smart object, and see, I can add lights. Spotlight. So it's given me one spotlight, and I think I can click on another light, and I can add as many lights as I want. So previously I could do a very nice job of it. I could manage all of them nicely, but now what happens is I play only with one light, and I'll show you how I normally do it. So I take that one light it gives me, and I start moving it till I get a bit of a gradient here. See that? It's a bit of a burn. And I'll say okay. So that's what I have. Now one more thing. I'm going to give it a glow. So you pretty much type your text and give it gradients, glows, blur. Keep playing with it until you get something really nice and interesting. And you'll need such little bits of graphics here and there to make your pages look interesting. Bit of banner here, a bit of a banner there, images with titles. So a bit of a glow. Now one of my favorite things is if it still doesn't stand out, what I do, I just make one more layer. So I've selected below, I've selected the layer below, I make one more layer underneath the text layer, and I just use my airbrush tool. You can see I've got a fairly large brush, or you can use the rectangle brackets just above the enter key to increase it and decrease it. So these are the square rectangular brackets, and I just go sort of just if I want to make it stand out. Okay. Finally, when you're done, file, save for web, and you can save it as a JPEG. You can compare it, but these days normally if it's line art, I'll save it as a GIF. Otherwise, most of the times JPEG, and I'll save it at a pretty decent quality, anything between 80 to 100, and I'll save it. Okay.